Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Sean to Our Corner. Thank you so much for watching. Going live tonight. I don't do this a whole lot, but I've been trying to pick it up and do it more often. It's a lot of fun. I have a blast. And of course, I have my sometimes co host sidekick, Brendan from Our Life in Horror. Brendan, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm tired. I'm back. I haven't been live in like 3 weeks. It feels like. So this is exciting. This is like a good some good training wheels, and then maybe I'll start trying to book my own thing. I just had so much like life changes all of a sudden, so
Yeah,
it's just I'm busy. We'll say that.
I totally understand. And yeah, somebody mentioned that to me the other day. I don't see him on here yet, but um, oh, there he is right there, Rob Humphrey. We were just about to talk about you, Rob. We also have Ryan Swayze, the best mod in the business. Tony, thank you for being here as well. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Rob told me he was going to come on and call us nerds. So there it was. He started right off with that this time. But yeah, Rob and I were just talking the other day, and he asked me if I had any lives coming up. And at that time, you and I hadn't planned to do this live. I was just going to record it and release it. But I'm starting to kind of get caught up on things a little bit. And so I'm talking to Rob, and I'm like, I don't think I do have any lives coming up. And he's like, well, Brendan's never live anymore. I was trying to see who else might be. And I'm like, yeah, look at him calling Brendan out like that. But so I decided that I'm like, yeah, let me switch. I want to keep doing these lives and try to get a little more consistent at them. So I did. That's when I messaged you about switching this up a little bit because I had some things set up and ready to go. I've actually been able to get to the theater a little bit here lately and see some things. So it worked
Nice.
out. But yeah, let's see what's going on over here in the chat real quick, and then I'll get your opinion. Ryan's got Slasher Radio's link up, so yes, go check out Slasher Radio. It's so fun to listen to them and harass Mikey. So I don't know if people are. I need more people to leave the voicemails. That cracks me up. Mikey gets so upset by it. Still
Oh
waiting
yeah.
on you to leave one, Brendan. You got the number
I
now.
know. I know. I have it, and it's written down somewhere around here too. And like Cass even like threw out a question to me. I remember the question. There will be a voicemail coming up soon.
Awesome. Yes, go subscribe to Tony's channel. Um, so yeah, you and I are going to be talking. We're stepping away from horror for a minute tonight. We're talking Batman versus Superman since we're going through the DC universe. But before we get into Batman versus Superman, and I told you before we went live that I had something else I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to start with that. But oh, hang on, Rob's got a comment directed towards you. I'm pretty sure. Our Life in Horror used to be live like 3 times a week, and occasionally there'd be a random surprise Saturday. Sam retired, and now Brendan has hung it up too.
Not true. Not true. I have just been. It's summertime here. The weather's nice. We're getting social. So like what we do on my channel, I guess I should throw out the way too is we do lives, a lot of lives. We're gonna kind of stay away from the pre-recorded videos for now. I have not been able to do any lives myself the last couple weeks due to just being busy. So like my job, I tend to travel, and I haven't been traveling too much over the last year or 2 years, actually, probably. But I started a job that's like an hour. No, I didn't start a job, but like, I'm doing the same thing. But the job site is an hour and like 20 minutes away. So I have to be there at the shop, which is 40 minutes away at like 6:15. So I have to be up at like quarter after 4. And I've just, by the time I get home, it's like I got like 2 hours and I'm back to bed. Um,
Got it.
so I've just been so busy. And then the weekends, I started my own side job for cash. So I've been doing that. Like I just had my first day off in 13 days straight. Last Sunday was my first day off in
Yeah.
13 days. So I've just been fucking busy, man. I want to come back. I really do. I do have Koshan scheduled, of course, for the end of the month here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on Corey's Wilkie's Movies and Music. I'm going to be on his channel next week. I've just been busy. I feel bad. I knew this was going to come with Mr. Humphrey, but I will be making a comeback. Trust me.
Yeah, that's all right, man. I totally understand getting busy. Rob just says to entertain him, damn it. So you got to entertain Rob. We need to make that a bigger priority for all of us. We got Mike from Mike and Serial here. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
You could join us. Let's see. That horror couple, Robbie and Kaylee. Good to
Hey
have you
guys.
here. So thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, my question for you, Brendan, and I feel like we talked about this a little bit. I think it was when we did the preview, when we got ready to do this, and we were just talking about everything that was coming up. But um, one place I think you and I are different when it comes to superheroes is I think we prefer something a little bit different. I think you told me you like the darker version of the superhero stuff better. Am I remembering right?
I think it depends on which superhero we're kind of discussing. I
Okay.
think that with the landscape of where Marvel has went with their superhero stories, I definitely think that a darker toned superhero story would greatly benefit them by changing up their formula.
Okay.
They tried to do that with the Punisher Kills or One Last Kill or whatever that just came out on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It was fine. It wasn't. It was the darkest thing Disney has ever put out for Marvel for sure. But for like Batman, it's like, yeah, dude, I want dark, gritty Batman stories. Superman, I like this iteration of Superman a lot.
Okay.
I wasn't too big on the new one, but then again, I've only watched the new guy once, so maybe I'd like him more on a rewatch.
Yeah.
But yeah, Superman can be light and fun and whatever. You know, that's fine. That's just who he is as like a comic book character, right?
Right.
Whereas Batman is a dark and brooding and, you know, disgruntled human being who's just going to like do everything he can to clean up his city. So I really appreciate what they did with Batman in this movie. Yeah, it's tough. I'd love a Blade movie. Like, let's give us a dark, scary Blade movie. Clayface. Have you seen the trailer for Clayface?
I have. It looks really cool.
That looks terrifying.
Yeah, and I agree.
Such an incredible like way to take that franchise.
Yeah, I completely agree. Rob says this movie is awful. I took my 9-year-old son to see it, and he was bored. If you make a Batman versus Superman movie and a 9-year-old is bored, you screwed up. I'm not completely going to disagree with you, Rob. I think it has its moments. Yeah, you and I were talking about that the other day. See, I think I'm torn there because I agree with you where Batman's concerned. When Marvel first started doing, when we first started with the whole Marvel universe, I was enjoying the fact that it wasn't all completely dark because I feel like that's been a problem with DC is I almost feel like sometimes DC stuff has been too dark. Now I understand wanting that from Batman, but I also feel like I'm coming at it from a different time frame. I mentioned before that part of the reason I'm such a superhero fan, and it went away for a few years. It's kind of started to come back, but my dad was a police officer. He was a detective. He was busy all the time. But there were two things that my dad always did with my brothers and I when we were younger and growing up. And one of those, when we were small, once he got home from, if he got home 10, 11, something like that, didn't matter. He would always come in and read us comic books. And the majority of them were DC related. So I grew up with my dad reading, Superman to me, Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Justice League, that kind of stuff. And was so young at the time that I didn't really completely understand everything that he was reading. I just thought it was so cool that Dad was doing this. And then I also watched a lot of, when I was a kid, I told you my favorite cartoon in the world, like I grew up watching this for so long, was the old Super Friends cartoon. Very cheesy, very corny, but I loved that as a kid. It was not dark at all. I mean, this came out like in the late 70s, and it's a very fun, nice guy, that kind of thing. But that's what I grew up watching. And then, of course, I watched the cheesy, Batman show with Adam West where, they were always having pow, bam, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But as a little kid, I absolutely loved it. And then, I watched like the old Adventures of Superman TV show that was black and white for quite some time with George Reeves. I watched the Wonder Woman TV show that had, I just forgot her name, who played Wonder Woman in the TV show. I can picture Linda Carter, I think was who played Wonder Woman in the TV show. I watched a lot of that kind of stuff, but it was much more like family friendly, bright, lots of colors. Good guys are good. There's not there's not dark things like that going on, and so that's what I grew up watching. And for the longest time, uh, I mean, I loved the Christopher Reeve Superman. I liked the Michael Keaton Batman. And then as DC stuff started getting darker, I had a hard time getting into it for quite some time because it just wasn't what I grew up with. Um, I didn't want, pow, bam, all that kind of shit popping up on the screen while I was watching a movie, but it just didn't seem like the superheroes that I grew up with. And so it caused me to struggle for quite some time with DC's movies. Again, I get it with Batman, but the other ones I'm like, I don't know about this. I don't know. This just feels awkward to me. It doesn't feel like the right thing. So I'm coming around to it more now, especially as we've gone through this rewatch, because I really didn't think I liked Man of Steel. And when we talked about it, I liked it much better than I thought I did. And this will be interesting to talk about as well. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from on this. So I'm old, and my superheroes were all really good guys back in the day.
In this franchise, I think you get like in this DCEU, I think you get a good mixture of both. Like I think Aquaman tends to lean more into the comedy side of things.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman, I can't remember Wonder Woman. I remember Wonder Woman being like one of my favorites though of the early DCEU. So I'm excited to check that one out.
yeah,
And then you got Suicide Squad, which was a total action comedy. Not that it's a funny movie by any means; it's
right.
awful, but it tried to be that kind of ragtag group of bad guys that have fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need a balance, and I
I agree.
understand that completely.
Yeah, I'm with you. A balance would be nice. Rob said the new Superman movie was good. It was fun. DC spends all their time trying to make movies that comic book dorks will like, but no one else wants that. Yeah, maybe.
That's what I want, though. That's what I want. I want
a mixture of it.
there are so many good Batman stories that I just want to see ripped from the fucking screen.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. We got Swift here. Hello, Swift, and happy birthday to Swift. It's his birthday
happy
today,
birthday to Swift.
Out there. But thank you, Swift, for coming on. Let me see if I missed anything in the chat real quick. People telling Swift happy birthday. Don't think I missed anything else at the moment. All right. So we'll get in and start talking about this a little bit. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Tagline for the film was the greatest gladiator match in the history of the world. Brief synopsis for this one. Actually, it's kind of a long synopsis, so I'm going to try to make it short. Fearing the actions of a godlike superhero left unchecked, Gotham City's own formidable, forceful vigilante takes on Metropolis's most revered modern-day savior, while the world wrestles with what sort of hero it really needs. And with Batman and Superman at war with one another, a new threat quickly arises, putting mankind in greater danger than it's ever known before. Film released March 25th of 2016, directed by Zack Snyder, written by Chris Terrio and David S. Goyer. A runtime of 151 minutes, unless you watch that Ultimate Edition, then that's like 3 hours. A budget of between $250 and $325 million, $874 million at the box office. Let me just name a few cast members real quick. We've got Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Jesse Eisenberg, Diane Lane, Lawrence Fishburne, Jeremy Irons, Holly Hunter, Gal Gadot. Let's stop. And Brendan, tell me what you think about the cast. And I mean, we all know these characters, but your thoughts on the way these characters are portrayed by this group.
The casting is almost perfect for this movie. Batfleck, I think, is great. He's one of my favorite Batman, actually. Like to be put on screen, I think he just holds that, aged and beaten down, and very buff. He doesn't look like he's totally agile, but he looks like if he grabs a hold of you, you're done for.
Right.
Cavill is still great as Superman. Gal Gadot introduced as Wonder Woman, I think, is fantastic. She's stunning. I think she plays the part very well. Jeremy Irons, I love Jeremy Irons. I think he's a great Alfred.
I agree.
But here's like the wrench in the.
I think there we go. You may have froze for a minute, Brendan. I'm seeing what happens here. But while we see if Brendan is still with us, everyone let me know if you're still seeing me okay and if Brendan looks froze on your screen.
Oh,
there we go.
We
Yeah,
good?
you're back. Yeah, you froze right as you started. You said, "Here's the wrench," and then you froze.
sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't know
thought it
what
was
just
like,
happened.
to start with, I thought we were having this huge dramatic pause, like to get us all on the end of our seat. But then I realized it was a technical
issue. But yeah, I think Jesse Eisenberg is absolutely terrible in this movie, portraying Lex Luthor. Yeah. I know everybody's got to hate on for Kevin Spacey, but I would have rather seen Kevin Spacey come back and play Lex Luthor than Jesse Eisenberg try to do whatever the fuck he was doing in this movie. I think I read later on that he took inspiration by accident from the Riddler.
Okay.
And like when I hear that and I watch the movie, I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense.
That does make sense, yeah.
But dude, did you ever miss the fucking mark?
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that, you know, I don't have any complaints about the cast or the way their characters were portrayed at all. Yeah, I think it was pretty spot on casting in my opinion.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think Ben Affleck is really good. I think Henry Cavill's good. Love, and I don't know if it's Gal, however you say it, but Wonder Woman, I think she's fantastic. Maybe the most spot on job DC's done casting anyone in quite some time. I think everybody else is very solid in their roles, but I 100% agree with you that this did not feel like Lex Luthor to me. Yeah, I don't know what Jesse Eisenberg was doing. I don't know why they let him do it that way. Now, you said he was influenced by the Riddler. That makes perfect sense because that's much more who he seemed like. I tell you, I don't know. Did you ever watch Smallville?
I have seen a few seasons. I haven't watched the whole thing through, but I did watch a few.
Okay. I absolutely loved Smallville. And Michael, I think it's, gosh, I want to say Rosenbaum, but I might be incorrect. But I think that's who played Lex Luthor in Smallville. He was fantastic.
Okay, yeah. I think he is good too. Yep.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I wish they could have got him over in this film because I think that would have made a huge difference. But yeah, with the exception of Lex Luthor, I like the cast and all as well here. Let me see what Swift just had to say. I'm so upset that WB tried to fast track to catch up with Marvel out of the gate. They could have just followed the blueprint laid out by Marvel and built a foundation strong enough to carry DC. I completely agree, Swift. I think they were trying to rush and play catch up because Marvel was so far ahead of them at the time, and it did hurt things. I completely agree. What about I think the cinematography for this movie is really good. Your thoughts on cinematography, score?
Cinematography I think is great. I think some of the images are ripped right out of the comic books.
Yeah.
Which I think really helps the movie. They're big fan moments, of course, nerd moments for Rob. But I enjoyed the cinematography. I do think Zack Snyder knows how to make a good movie.
Yeah.
At least a pretty decently good looking movie.
Right.
Still the biggest problem with me with Zack Snyder, and especially with this movie, and especially me being tricked into watching the ultimate cut here. The amount of slow-mo within this movie was not needed for running padding the runtime. It felt like it did.
I agree.
Too much slow-mo with all of your movies, Zach. You really need to start picking it where it counts. I feel like when he started directing, I feel like 300 just had the right amount of slow-mo. Like they were just during really impactful scenes or really cool shots. Now it's like he just wants to throw a slow-mo into a random conversation that we're having.
Yeah. It took me a minute to realize what Rob was talking about, but now I think Rob is talking about what he says. He looks like he's pretending to be a bear. I believe he was talking about you when you froze on the screen because you had your hands up.
Oh,
yeah, it was you pretending to be the bear. It took me a minute there, but that was funny.
Okay.
And then let's see. Ryan says Zack Snyder knows how to shoot a scene. Most of his movies are beautiful, regardless if you love or hate his films. Rob disagrees. He said the evidence would suggest that Zack Snyder does not know how to make a good movie. Yeah, I mean, I think it's hit and miss. For the most part, yeah, I think he knows what he's doing. He just has a tendency to overdo some things. I do think the cinematography is really good. Score's fine. What are your thoughts on this story? And here's Mr. Robbie, by the way, as well. He said that I'm his superhero.
Aw.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. What are your thoughts on this story, Brendan?
It's not good. It feels rushed. Like who was saying earlier that they needed to establish an existing universe before they do something like this.
Yeah, Swift. Like that.
Swift, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
100% agree. What we really needed before, we did the Batman v Superman movie is that we needed a standalone Batman movie which showed him breaking down as a hero and ending it with the Battle of Metropolis that we got in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I think would have been the perfect little filler piece until we got to this piece. But then it introduces so much in this movie that, trying to push forward that they're going to be doing something else in the future. And, they're shoehorning in Batman's origin story as well.
Yeah.
Which, again, I don't mind where they put it. That was my first note, was I don't mind where they put Batman's origin in this movie. Because it's just during the opening credits. So you're not really... Would you rather just watch a black screen, or would you like to see, Bruce's parents get killed in slow motion again?
Yeah.
So the story's not good. I think there is a good story in here, but it's bogged down by Jesse Eisenberg. It's too convoluted. There's just too much going on. It really feels like this.
Yeah, I feel like there's way too much going on in this movie that just wasn't necessary, and made it somewhat, I feel like, hard to follow even a little bit for the first half of the film. There's some things going on that I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we even showing this? So yeah, that was my note for probably the first half of this movie, is there's way too much happening. So yeah, I agree with you 100% there. And yeah, that, as far as Batman's origin getting introduced like it did, I agree with you. I didn't need to see it again, especially if this is what we're going to do with this, but for where they put it, it's fine. Got Gene here. Hello, Gene. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. Let's see what else we got here. Ryan says this movie is a mess, I'll admit, but that warehouse scene was badass. Yeah, it's pretty good. I agree. All right, so let's mention a couple of the production notes here, because I had a few things I wanted to mention just to see if you had any thoughts on any of these things, and then we'll start to walk through this a little bit. But this is the first live-action film to feature Batman and Superman together, as well as the first live-action cinematic portrayal of Wonder Woman. I didn't actually realize that. I had to go back. I was like, is it really? But yeah, it's kind of crazy to me as how long that character's been around. An idea was pitched back in 2001 titled Batman vs. Superman. The studio thought it was too dark, so rewrites were done. Warner Brothers wanted Johnny Depp as Batman and Josh Hartnett as Superman. However, the project was placed on hold. Yeah, would you have liked Johnny Depp as Batman and Josh Hartnett as Superman?
Nope. Absolutely. Josh Hartnett, like, maybe I could see as Superman. Maybe. Like, that's pulling a stretch, but like,
yeah.
Johnny Depp, absolutely not. Could you imagine him just like, flailing his arms around and I'm Batman, like,
yeah, it would not have worked.
No.
Yeah, when I read that, I'm like, what the hell? I could almost see Josh Hartnett maybe as a younger Superman. Maybe, I'm still not sure, but I agree with you. Johnny Depp as Batman would have been horrible. But yeah, that's fine. In 2013, when Man of Steel was released, Batman vs. Superman was announced. The Joker and Riddler were supposed to appear, but Snyder cut them from the final script. I'm torn on that, because in some ways I think it would have been cool to have seen the Joker and the Riddler in this movie. But there's already, like we already talked about, there's so much going on. We'd have been talking like a 4 to 5 hour movie if we'd had them in there, I'm afraid. Like, this would have just been insane. Yeah, your thoughts there.
So there's an animated Batman versus Superman that came out in the early 2000s or late 90s.
Okay.
And it includes the Joker as well. but it includes the Joker as he teams up with Lex Luthor to get Batman to, go get Superman.
Right.
So I can almost get down with that idea. Throwing the Riddler in is maybe like, an opening stinger. That's how we're introduced to Batman. He's defeating the Riddler. Fine. Yeah. If there was like a 45-minute subplot of that going on, absolutely not. This movie is, like we talked about, just filled already to the brim with useless story points that we don't need.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the thing is when I read that, when I saw that the Joker and the Riddler were supposed to be in this, and then you made your comment a while ago, I'm like, oh, that's what happened to Jesse Eisenberg. He thought he was playing the Riddler from the first script. He just didn't realize what was happening, I guess. But, I think it would have been cool if we could have cut out some of the other bullshit that takes place in the first hour of this movie, because in my opinion, there's so much stuff that goes on in the first hour of this movie that's not necessary and that causes the first half of this movie to drag. So I can certainly, Rob was talking about his 9-year-old son was bored. I could 100% see that with the way that this movie started off. And so if we could have cut out some of that nonsense and maybe, like you said, started off with Batman defeating Riddler and then, Joker coming in and teaming up with Lex Luthor, I think that would have been pretty cool. I think that could have been better than what we got for the first half of this film. My opinion changes for the second half, but for the first half, I think maybe that would have been much better.
Yeah, because it's a pretty simple concept that you just have to deliver to people.
Right.
It's Batman versus Superman. That's what people came to see. That's what we want. We don't need all this, Superman is God, subplots being thrown in there, and Jesse Eisenberg's upset because he's, he's got to take down the god or make him look bad, to prove that he's human like everybody else or something like that. Yeah. Whatever his stupid reasoning is behind this is. I don't want all that. What I would have rather have seen is most of the movie, but say take out all of Jesse Eisenberg's scene and then have it so he pops up at the end and is it turns out that he is the mastermind that, figured it all out, have him who's the what's that? I'm having a meltdown.
No, okay.
Inspector Gadget. Who's the villain in Inspector Gadget? With the cat. Who plays at the end of every episode.
Yeah, I don't know his name. I know who you're talking about.
But just have him like that. Show up at the end and be like, I was thwarted again by whatever teamwork or whatever.
Right.
But I'll get you next time. Yeah. And that's how you set him up for the next Man of Tomorrow or whatever the next Superman movie would be called.
Yeah.
It's such an easy premise, and they just threw it right out the window.
Dr. Claw.
Thank
you, Ryan. Appreciate that. Ryan also made a comment there. He said if Jared Leto's Joker was in this, that would have really brought the film down. I do agree as well, because I'm not a fan of that either. But you said something there, and this being a horror channel, I'm going to find a way to turn this into a brief horror discussion here. Before I do, I want to mention two more things real quick. Originally intended as a sequel to Man of Steel, the film was revamped to be more as a pilot for Justice League. Jason Momoa auditioned for the role of Batman, but was chosen to play Aquaman instead. I don't know if that would have worked either. I don't know if I could imagine Jason Momoa as Batman.
I think I can, but I don't know. I don't really like him as Aquaman either.
Okay.
I don't like his dude bro attitude. When we get there, we'll go more in depth in it. But I don't. He says "woo" like a billion times in that movie. Just screams it.
Yeah.
I'm not too much of a fan of the dude bro, Chad energy he brings to that role.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. In fact, Aquaman's going to be a fun one to talk about because he's okay as Aquaman. I don't think he's great. He's not horrible in my opinion. But again, we're going to go back to me being, 8-9-year-old Sean who's watching Super Friends every morning and then sees Aquaman appear on Superman's cartoon series or Batman's cartoon series. And I realize I think it's a Justice League Unlimited, and even in the comic books, Aquaman's look changed for a while. But I don't know. I would like to see more of the original Aquaman that I grew up watching instead of this surfer dude that Aquaman's become. But that's fine. What I was talking about as far as referencing this to horror. So I feel like I'm wondering your thoughts. I got to decide how to word this. Like you talked about, when people come to see a Batman versus Superman movie, there's certain things that they want to see, and I feel like one of the things where superhero movies struggle sometimes, especially today, is trying to implement too many other things, possibly for a newer audience. Because again, I realize I'm in my 50s. Most people, I'm on here talking about Super Friends, they probably have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't even know if you know what Super Friends is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
seen an episode or two.
Okay. So do you think that the problem, because I feel like horror sometimes makes the same mistake, like take the Friday the 13th franchise, for example. And I know it's a fine line. You're almost damned if you do, damned if you don't. But in my opinion, Friday the 13th, the first four, six, those are the best in that franchise, because that's what I want from Jason. I want to see Jason at Camp Crystal Lake, or at least, in the woods, chasing, killing people, that kind of thing. That's what I want from Jason. I don't need him in space. I don't need the chaos of Jason Goes to Hell. I don't need him going to New York. I don't need all of this. That's not what I want to watch for Jason. Now, I know other people say, well, you've got to do something different. You've been doing this for, years. You've got to change things up. But those movies were also more successful than all of this newer stuff that came out. I think the superhero genre suffers from the same thing. And to me, if I'm going to go watch a Batman versus Superman movie, then I want to see a cool ass Superman, a cool ass Batman. I want some good action between them. I want to see a real Lex Luthor, not just the Eisenberg version. I want to see the Joker. I like the fact that we get Wonder Woman. Like I want at least something that reminds me. I mean, these characters have been around forever. We don't have to change everything, but I feel like we try so hard with both genres to bring in a new audience that we forget what makes these characters great. And I think it affects things today with some of the films that we get. Do you agree, disagree? What's your take on what? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
I do. I think, yeah, I don't. I think you can change them as long as it works. Like, I think Batman works incredibly well in this movie, and especially from the story kind of being based off of Frank Miller's. I think it's The Dark Knight Returns graphic novel. So like a lot of his characters almost like ripped right from the comic book, so it really works as inspiration. I don't know. I feel like at most of I feel like Gal Gadot's pretty spot on to what I would want from a Wonder Woman.
I do agree. She's fantastic.
Superman, I know, like, Superman's the only character in this where I feel like is different from his comic book counterpart, like, significantly. But I prefer it being slightly darker.
Okay.
At least in this instance, and you were talking about Friday the 13th, and
right.
You said part 4 and part 6.
Yeah.
Well, part 4 is a full horror movie. Part 6 is a horror comedy, like, straight up.
Yeah.
So they're them being the two best almost in the franchise. They do change the formula between two different films. One's quite funny, almost slapsticky, and the other one is a straight up horror movie. So I do think there is room to grow and change light on these characters as long as it's for the better.
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg is like the definitiveness of, like, we're trying something extremely out there, and it just falls flat.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying about, like, the Friday the 13th, 4 and 6. They do change the formula somewhat. They change. I don't know if they change the formula as much as they change the tone, but I feel like the basic formula is still there, and so it works. But when you start changing everything, it doesn't work. And I feel like that's where sometimes both the horror genre and the superhero genre tend to struggle a little bit, is swinging too big, and you end up bombing. What if you would tone it down just a little bit and kind of maybe keep somewhat to some basics, you might do better off. Just my thoughts, but again, I'm a cranky old man these days, so
it's so hard, because, like, you look at what Marvel did, in their beginning like 10 years. I'm gonna go with the first 10 years because those are the best ones. But
I
you had like origin story after origin story after origin story that all filled the same mold. And then all of a sudden you got Guardians of the Galaxy, which is such a swing to the left, man. Like
right.
so many new things were introduced. It's like a totally different tone. It's incredibly bright and colorful. The soundtrack's incredible. And it worked, and it like blew everybody away. And then they returned to Ant-Man, and Ant-Man returned to formula, and it bombed. It's still a good origin story, like don't get me wrong, but it was taken out of Edgar Wright's hands, who wanted to do something like Guardians of the Galaxy and just do his own like fun twist on things. And studio's like, nope, we're gonna do like kind of the standard classic situation here and see what happens. And it hurt it a lot, actually. I think so.
Yeah,
I think there's ways to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Sam was here for a minute. I'll get a little behind there for just a second. But hey, Sam, yeah, I just, also being a sports fan, and I promise we'll get into the movie next because we've already been for 35 minutes and we really haven't even got into it yet. But, I remember growing up a Chicago sports fan. There was a time frame where the White Sox baseball team, they had a player in particular, Adam Dunn. And Adam Dunn could hit the shit out of the ball. But he swung so hard at absolutely everything. And when he connected, it was a home run the majority of the time. And you would get incredibly excited because he could just kill it. But because he swung at absolutely everything, he struck out so many times. And it was so frustrating. And I feel like that's kind of what happens with these movies a little bit. When you hit, you can hit big. And it can be something really good. But there's so many more strikeouts than hits, in my opinion, when you start to swing too big. But yeah, wow, I've talked about horror, I've talked about baseball. We're all over the place right now.
Hey, it's perfect.
All right, let's get into the walkthrough. We'll start going through this a little bit. Opening scene. So we kind of open up in this movie. We get the flashback with Bruce Wayne. We kind of get his setting a little bit there. We also see him fleeing his parents' funeral and falling into this cave and having this dream that the bats bring him back to the top. We also see Bruce was present in Metropolis during the battle between Superman and Zod and Man of Steel. That's kind of our opening to the film. I'm condensing it down a little bit here because I feel like it lasts a bit. But what were your thoughts on the opening scene?
Like we talked about, like with Bruce's origin, I mean, we didn't need it, but if you were going to put it somewhere, here's not a bad place to put it.
Yeah.
I think showing the civilian side of what is happening in Metropolis was incredibly smart. I think it looks fantastic. I think it shows why Bruce Wayne all of a sudden is like, he feels threatened for the first time. There's something that's not in his realm of being able to control.
Yeah.
And that's why he eventually starts to, go after Superman. So I think it's incredibly smart to have it put through that point of view. There's I put down Chef's Kiss because you got like all these reenacting scenes from the first movie, which look great. Yeah. There's a scene where everybody's running away from the building falling, and Bruce is the only person running towards it.
Right.
I think shows a lot of his character as well. So I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great opening.
I agree with you. I don't think, again, we talked about this. I don't think we need the origin story here for Batman. It's fine. If this is where you're going to put it, it's okay. I didn't feel like it was necessary. But other than that, I really did like the opening because I made the note here exactly like you said about you get the human perspective from, what went on there. And that's something that, doesn't, I know I've thought about that occasionally, even watching some of Marvel's movies when there's just so much chaos and so much shit being destroyed in these movies. Every once in a while, I'm like, I wonder how many people just died while this is all going on. I'm like, damn, are they really saving people or are they just contributing to a lot of people getting wiped out right now? But I have thought that before. But yeah, I like the opening scene as well.
I do have one other thing to say about Jeffrey D. Morgan and Lauren Conan, who played Martha Wayne and Bruce's dad. They were actually set up to be in Zack Snyder's Flashpoint movie.
Oh, okay.
which I don't know if you've seen Flash. I don't think you've seen The Flash.
I have not, but I haven't seen Flashpoint.
So Flashpoint is a Flash storyline comic book where he goes to an alternate universe where Bruce dies at the beginning of the film, and then Bruce's dad picks up the mantle of Batman, and he uses guns, and he's incredibly violent. And his mother becomes the Joker.
Oh, okay.
So like that's kind of where they set up. They were supposed to be in the Flash movie. Unfortunately, that's not at all what happened.
Okay.
But that was the original plan.
Okay. I thought it was cool seeing them. I mean, I didn't know all that information you just shared. I thought it was cool just seeing them because of I'm a fan of The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, yeah.
The Walking Dead, they're at that time they were against each other, like they were battling each other, and so then to see them playing the Waynes here, I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of cool that they're in this. But yeah, that was really the only thought I had on it because I didn't know that other information, so that's pretty cool. And now I'm curious why that didn't work out, but I still haven't seen Flash yet. So the next little set of scenes here I want to talk about is one of my biggest problems with this entire movie, because I feel like watching this the other day, we were talking about before we went live which version we watched, and so I started off watching that extended, that ultimate version, and I felt like I had been watching this movie for at least an hour, maybe an hour or even 15 minutes, and I paused it to see how long it had been on, and it had been on 40 minutes. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, I haven't even made it an hour yet, and not a fucking thing that's interesting has happened. Like, that's where I was the other day. So that's why I ended up switching things up a little bit. But
you're lucky. I paused it, and I was only halfway fucking through, and I was at an hour and a half.
That's awesome. But we pick up, it's like 18 months later. We're at the Indian Ocean. It looks like kryptonite's getting discovered. I'm going to ask you this question because I tried to even go back and watch that part again to figure out exactly what's happening here. What is Lois Lane doing? Here's a subplot that I do not feel like we need in this movie. Lois is investigating all these different things going on throughout this film. And to me, it's just unnecessary. It doesn't, for the most part, with a few exceptions, it doesn't add a whole lot. That's why I was saying I feel like at times this is hard to follow because you've got Superman's thing going on. You've got Batman's thing going on. You've got Wonder Woman being introduced. We've got Lex Luthor and his thing. And we've got Lois just all over the place investigating all kinds of stuff. Jimmy Olsen's in the CIA instead of actually working for the news department, and he gets killed. Superman does end up, showing up and saving Lois before she gets killed. And we also get a cut there to where Batman's saving some girls and he's branding villains now, which I didn't really completely understand why that was necessary either. I don't think I've ever seen Batman do that unless I'm just forgetting.
Oh, and I can tell you why.
Tell me why, please.
Okay, so Batman brands the rats. So say this guy were to have given him some, which he did, the villain that was left alive or left conscious, gave Batman a name to continue up the crime chain.
Right.
So he brands him so that when he goes to prison, everybody knows that he survived Batman and basically puts an automatic target on him. And
okay,
that's why they keep getting assassinated or, shanked in prison.
Okay. That's fair then.
It's like a cruel justice thing he's got going on in this movie, which I really like.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. Yeah, I guess I missed that part for some reason, trying to figure out all the things that were happening.
You didn't watch the 4-hour long cut of the movie. That's why.
I didn't. Yeah, that could be the problem as well. We also we find out that Bruce Wayne thinks Superman's a threat. We got Lex Luthor trying to persuade a senator to allow him to import kryptonite and use it against future Kryptonian threats. She doesn't buy it, but Luthor makes a deal with her assistant. And then we also find out that just like Bruce Wayne has a problem with Superman, Clark Kent seems to have a problem with Batman. But like I said, we've got all this stuff going on with Lois. This whole section of the movie here just seems to take forever, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on everything that was going on here?
So the kryptonite thing is fucking dumb to me. I feel like, it was 3 hours. but it felt like 5.
Yeah.
Um, the Kryptonite's dumb because I feel like Kryptonite's been around, like in the comics, anyways. I feel like Kryptonite has always been around. I feel like it wasn't just exclusively dropped off by the World Destroyer from the first film. I feel like it had been always on Earth, whether it would come from like asteroids or whatever, but it'd be super rare to find for sure. But like, I can't see why Kryptonians would bring Kryptonite with them when that's their only weakness.
Agree.
You know, it just seems a little silly to me. So I didn't like the whole Kryptonite thing. Jimmy Olsen, I don't really care for to begin with. Like and the only reason why I even know what he's like a bigger part of the comic books is from probably the new film, because he's got a lot more screen time in that one. He does more. The first time I watched this movie, I had no idea who that character even was. I didn't even know it was a character of any importance, to be honest with you. So I was like, oh, Jimmy Olsen dies at the beginning. So yeah, I had zero interest in that. Lex Luthor should just have power beyond in wealth beyond any point, so he shouldn't have to worry about trying to buy this stuff. And as for Lois Lane's investigations, it's basically just something for her to do to jam her into the story somehow, right?
I guess so. Remember the Spin Doctor song, Jimmy Olsen Blues? I actually don't remember that song, but that's funny.
I don't remember that one either.
Yeah. I know Jimmy Olsen from, like I said, when I was a kid, I used to watch it was just called Adventures of Superman, and George Reeves plays Superman in that. I think it was black and white for the first couple of seasons and then color towards the end. But that's where I was introduced to Jimmy Olsen, because he's like a nerdy little sidekick of Lois and Clark there. But I feel like you said, Lois is forced in here. The setup for a lot of the stuff in this story, I think, is done. The Kryptonite thing, the way Luthor is, there's just a lot about this section of the movie that I don't like. And when I was watching this the other day, I was like, damn, I was excited to watch this one and looking forward to this one, because as a kid and growing up, Batman and Superman were two of my absolute favorite superheroes. And like I said, I love the Superman movies with Christopher Reeve. I love the Batman movies with Michael Keaton. So I was super excited to go back and rewatch this. And the first hour of this film, I was struggling tremendously to just be even kind of interested. In fact, I don't draw, and I caught myself even like drawing little things on my notes.
Little doodling?
Yeah, because I was just like, I don't give a fuck what's going on right now. Bruce starts to suspect Lex is up to something. We also kind of get throughout this film, and I'm going to mention it here because it happens several times, where Bruce is getting like these news clippings and that kind of thing with this writing in red on him. All Lex trying to set up, Batman to go after Superman, that kind of thing. But Bruce ends up attending this gala at LexCorp. He's wanting to steal this encrypted data, but we meet Diana Prince, and she's able to get to it first. We did have kind of a somewhat fun confrontation here, I thought, between Bruce and Clark, where they meet for the first time. We get more of Lois's nonsense going on. Let's see. I'm trying to find. There we go. Bruce has a dream about leading a group against an evil Superman, in which Batman's dressed in an overcoat and using a gun quite a bit to shoot people, but he gets awakened by Flash through this weird portal, who tells him that Lois is the key, and then he needs to find the others, and then he kind of disappears. In looking through these files, because now Diana ends up giving these files to Bruce, and so he starts to look through them, and he starts finding out about these other metahumans that include Diana as Wonder Woman. I want to stop here because a couple of things. One thing, kind of a plot hole here that bothers me a little bit about this movie, and then we'll just kind of get your thoughts on this whole section. But Diana got to these files first, right? Like, she was able to get them at the gala before Bruce got a hold of them. How did she not see the other files about the metahumans? Like, she seems shocked later. Did I miss something there as well?
Yeah, she wasn't able to get into them because they're military grade encrypted.
Okay.
So Batman with his supercomputer was the only person that was able to access them.
That out. Okay.
Yep.
I think here again there were a couple of things that I enjoyed here in this kind of whole set that's going on. But I think I was still really struggling at this part of the movie, so I just missed that, because then when Bruce is watching this, I'm like, how the fuck did Diana not know that was there? Like, why would she have even given this to him if she knew that it was about to expose her? But I did miss what you were talking about just then. That was probably during my doodling that got revealed. But give me your thoughts on this whole section now as we're starting to move along. I still feel like the pacing is fairly slow. I liked the gala scene. But other than that, was still struggling with this a little bit. But and I thought Flash's appearance was dumb. But that's just me. But what were your thoughts?
You say Slash?
Flash.
Oh, Flash.
Yeah, yeah. And when he appears in that portal, talking to Bruce for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get there in a moment. Let's talk about the gala. The gala, I think, is a lot of fun because I don't think at that point they know who they are yet.
Right.
So I do think it's a good ideology of battles going on and wits and kind of who can kind of prove one or over the other, which I think is really good. So I really enjoyed that conversation and that scene until you get into, Lex Luthor's 10-minute fucking stupid speech about mumbling.
Yes.
And, God, it's brutal.
So dumb. Yeah.
It's so bad, and there's long in-depth videos on YouTube about all the meaning behind Lex Luthor's theories and everything like that. Like, you can go really in depth with this movie, which does prove that there is supposed to be a story behind this. But I tell you, it's hard to get through. If I didn't watch those videos, I'd have no fucking clue what was happening in this movie.
All right.
So that's cool. I like Diana's introduction. I think is good. We talked about Bruce. You don't like the futuristic scene?
I did not like the futuristic scene, but again, I feel like that's 100%. This is kind of what I was referencing in the beginning. Not one time as a kid, we have another version of Nanette popping in over there. It looks like not one time as a kid in all of the Super Friends cartoons, the Batman cartoons, the Batman TV show that I watched, even into the Michael Keaton Batman movies. And I don't remember, like I said, my dad read us comic books when I was a kid. I don't remember ever seeing Batman in this brown, weird trench coat shooting people with guns. I just thought this scene, I'm like, come on. I just wasn't on board. Now, again, I'm the grumpy old man here in the room, so I'm looking for a different Batman than what I was getting right here. But yeah, so, I take it you did like that.
So you haven't seen Superman Red Son then?
I have not.
So Superman Red Son is a alternate version of Superman who crash lands in Russia instead of America during it's before the it's before, I can't remember. It is, I can't remember when it takes place, but basically Batman is a terrorist in that movie or that story, and he does run a trench coat with some sort of hat thing on the front of his idea. So there is a reference to that, but also it's like a desert kind of where it kind of blends in with the environment.
Yeah.
So, being with somebody who was superhuman and those, I can't remember what the bug things are called ever, but, they sense fear. That's kind of how they hunt and track people. So I can kind of see why he would use something like that just to kind of, blend in with the environment more. But I really enjoy that because that's an alternate future. I know. Dude, you got no fucking clue, Rob. You got no clue how much of a geek I am. I promise you got no clue. This is the tip of the iceberg, buddy. But I enjoy that because that's a futuristic Flash going back in time to show Bruce of this timeline a glimpse into the future of what could be. so it's also explained more, and I can't remember if I think it is the Justice League movie. There's another. It's a longer glimpse of the future. Um, so I really like it. Again, this is another moment where it's just setting up future installments.
Yeah.
Which I think is like at this point we don't really need it. But there is a point to it, and it does come back later on. Okay. So it's kind of give or take.
I mean, I guess you said that was called Superman Red Sun. Is that what you said that one was?
Yep.
Had I seen that, then that would have made a little bit of a difference. I just, I really, like I said, I found myself at this point watching this the other day where I'm like, when I watched Super Friends in 1978, and I was like 6 years old. Batman always had on gray and blue. Like, he never put on a trench coat. He never had a gun. Mm-hmm. He never had some weird thing on his mask. What the hell are we doing? So that's where I was struggling a little bit.
You should see the fucking bat suits he's got now, man. Let me tell you, there's all kinds. There's like a bat demon suit or something like that he wears.
Yeah,
it's like makes him ultimate powerful or whatever. Like, is more powerful than like Superman. But every time he uses it, he gets like more crazy, and it takes like time off of his life. So he doesn't use it very often. But that's one of the suits that he has. That's always kind of stuck in my head.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll make a comment on that here in just a second. I did see we had a question here. Do you think they'll make a Batman Beyond movie? I would have thought so, but I feel like that window's passed. I mean, maybe not. They might still, but I just feel like that window's passed.
No.
You don't.
That window hasn't passed.
Batman
that window. Yeah, but the window is like wide open, man. You could do Batman Beyond whenever, because it's its own thing. All you need is somebody previously that's played Batman. Put him in there, make him the old man Bruce Wayne who trains Terry McGinnis.
Yeah,
you're golden. You're laughing.
You don't think the popularity of Batman Beyond has passed?
No, especially since I've seen somebody did a fan like teaser trailer for it, an animated one, of course, but it was done in the style of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay,
so it's very like neon-y, bright colors, kind of style of artistry, and it looked so good. Like, just give that guy some money, and he'll make us a fucking movie. That'll be a banger. Okay, but you get Michael Keaton in there to be old man Bruce. Right. It's perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. And you were talking about all the different suits. I was listening to, it took me forever. I finally started listening to Rob's other podcast, the Nick F. and Whoop 8K.
I tried to, I tried to find that on Spotify, and I couldn't find it.
I found it. I started listening to it, and they just had an episode come out on the Spider Noir thing, and so I was listening to that today, and yeah, there's Rob's comment right there. Yeah, I listened to your episode today on that, Rob, on the first 2 episodes of that show. But one of the things that Rob and Kat were talking about on there was they were talking about comic book collecting. And Rob was saying something about like just the way his collector mind works. If he can't go back and get, like the first of something, it's hard for him to pick up and get back into something like that now. And I somewhat get that, because as you were talking about that, I used to have a ton of comic books. And there was even a stretch where after I was in my teens, early 20s, I was still buying them. Sometimes I would read them, sometimes I wouldn't, but I had a huge collection. 90% of it was DC related: Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern. I was even a huge Hawkman fan. I had so many DC comics, and don't have any of that stuff anymore. There's a whole other reason for that I'll just get angry if we talk about, but don't have that stuff now. But I've thought about, as I've started to kind of slowly get back into this superhero thing again here in the past few months, I've thought about going back, because I see different, comic books and things here and there, and I'm like, maybe that would be kind of cool to start back up. Not all of them, but a few here and there, like Batman. But I'm like, I go and I look at them, and I'm like, oh my God, there's like 15 different Batman comic books now, and there's so many different versions, and there's so many different suits. Can I just have like the original? Can I just have one thing? And apparently and it's the same way with Superman. And apparently from what I was looking at, like they go together a lot. So it's not like you can just read Detective Comics Batman and know what's going on, because some of the stories bleed over into the other Batman books, and I'm just like, damn, they've made this too difficult for me. So
Now, yes, nowadays they definitely have. Back in the day, and still now, you can actually get like, I know you can do this for the original Spider-Man comic book run. You can buy volumes of it. So
okay.
I think it comes in like 3 or 4 volumes, but it's the whole original comic book run.
Oh well.
And then yeah, like you said, like every, there's the, like, I'm going to talk Spider-Man because that's what I know.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's the Ultimate run in the 2000s, the Ultimate Spider-Man. There's Scarlet Spider, who was in the 90s. There's a Spider-Man 2099 who was also probably in the 90s as well, because he was a little bit of a dark and grittier Spider-Man as well. But yeah, and like you said, they interconnect and interweave, like with Civil War, being a Marvel comic book event as well. So it's hard to get into something like that, and it costs fucking money, man.
Yeah.
Like, you think collecting movies is fucking expensive? Wait until you get into collecting comic books, then you'll find out how real money fucking talks, man.
No, it's crazy. I just noticed it a little bit. There's a store not too far from me that I went in, and they have mostly it's a comic store, but they also have figures, horror figures, superhero figures, Funko Pops, that kind of stuff. And so I went in there for the first time one day just to kind of look around, and they had some really cool horror shit, but then I got to looking at some of the superhero stuff too. I was looking at the comic books and the different things they had, and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't, I'm going to need to win a lottery or something if I want to, to get into this kind of thing, because this is insane.
Yeah.
Rob said he had a decent comic collection at one point, started reading them when DC rebooted everything. Don't have them anymore, though. At some point, I stopped caring. If I would have got to keep my collection, I probably would still be adding to it. But my first wife, when we separated, I let her have the house, and I got someplace else to stay. And then when I went back to start trying to get the rest of my stuff, she had sold everything that I had. And probably sold it for, 1/10 of what it was worth, but she was just, out of spite trying to get rid of stuff. And so, she did. I was so pissed because I had a pretty good collection that was probably worth a decent amount of money. The Nightfall series from Batman, the whole series where Superman dies, and then they have like Reign of the Superman, where there's like 4 or 5 different Superman that come back, and they're trying to figure out who's the real Superman. I had those sets. Yeah, I had all of that. It just Rob just said, Sean is the only guy to ever lose his comic collection in a divorce. Pretty much, yeah. That's spot on. That's one of the many things I lost, and I loved it so much. I've been divorced twice. That's how smart I am. So yeah,
man, that's crazy that you lost the Death of Superman comic book run. That is that's like a big burner right there. That fucking hurts. I didn't even own them, and I feel bad for you, dude.
Yeah, I did own them, and I was pissed. And the Nightfall Batman series that I was talking about was probably my favorite Batman run ever. It was where in the comics where Bane ends up getting introduced, because Batman goes through this whole battle, like night after night after night. He's fighting different villains. He's fighting Joker, the Riddler, Penguin, and like some that I'd never even heard of. But there's several where he's just getting exhausted because he's not getting rest. Like everything, they've all broke out of like Arkham Asylum, right? And so he's constantly going up against somebody, and he's never getting any rest. And then once he's completely worn out, Bane shows up and ends up breaking Bruce Wayne's back, and like he's just done. And they get this other guy to come in and be Batman for a little while, and it seems like it's going to work, but then he starts kind of going crazy, and so Bruce Wayne has to come back and end up taking him out, and then go back and get Bane. And it was a fantastic series. I loved this series. It was called Nightfall. It was my favorite Batman comic set ever. Lost that one as well in that whole thing. So it was there was my comic book collection, and I also grew up a huge basketball fan. I had multiple NBA jerseys of some classic players that also got sold in this garage sale. Yeah, I was not a happy guy.
No doubt.
Rob said, I get it. I lost my CD collection in my divorce. Yeah, it's tough out there, man. Divorce is not a good thing sometimes.
They'll take what hurts.
They do. Ryan said, I would love to see a film adapted the Nightfall comic run. I would too. I think that would be fantastic because I absolutely love that run.
Yep.
All right, let's get back to this movie here a little bit. We got off on all kinds of tangents there. Hope I'm not. We're already over an hour, so I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time, Brendan.
No, you're all good, dude. We'll talk as long as this movie took me to watch.
So Batman sees his files. We also kind of get our first confrontation between Batman and Superman there, and Batman's trying to get to the kryptonite. Superman's able to stop him. Superman goes to visit his mom. We get more of Lois's bullshit going on. We get the court hearing where the former Wayne Enterprise employee that we see Bruce try to help in the beginning there that got crippled during the Man of Steel battle. He's in there in the court, and Lex has kind of got this bomb thing on him. This bomb explodes. It kills everybody. Batman is then able to get the kryptonite. Superman blames himself for not detecting the bomb, and he decides to take off and leave. Lex ends up mixing his DNA with Zod's body. Then we get Batman doing some training to get ready to fight Superman and going through these metahuman files. What are your thoughts here? For me, like I said, I really struggled through the first half of this movie. I really was like, wow, this is nowhere near as good as I thought it was or was hoping it was. It slowly starts to turn here a little bit. I don't like everything that's happening, but things are starting to pick up just a little bit at this point for me. What were your thoughts?
Kind of in the same boat. I mean, okay. Lois Investigations is just kind of dragging on for me.
Yeah.
The courtroom I liked because I think it was a big talking point for superhero movies of the time.
Right.
Like especially with like how Marvel started to portray things, and it's directly referenced in this movie where, you know, Superman's first battle of Metropolis demoed like probably hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And then they're like at the end, like during the battle with Doomsday, spoilers, I guess, if you didn't know Doomsday was in this fucking movie.
Right.
They're like, oh, we brought him back to the bay here because, you know, there's nobody lives here. It's isolated. And that happened a lot with Marvel as well. So I like that talking point. I think at this point it maybe had lost its touch a little bit. Because like that's like it's not like it's not like Superman has any control, you know what I mean? Like It's not like they have control of whether or not they're gonna be thrown through a building with people in it.
Yeah,
you know, they're still trying to do what's best.
Right.
You know, casualties happen all the time around the world. You know, it's not anybody's fault. So that kind of I like it, but I don't like it at the same time. The explosion I thought was pretty sweet. You talk about Superman and Batman's like first kind of interaction with each other.
Right.
I like it, but the animated movie did it better. Way better. Of course, I will say that we get the "Do you bleed?" line, which I think is fantastic. I think it's
like that line as well.
It's such a good line. But in the animated movie, when Batman and Superman first confront each other, Superman peeks. He uses his X-ray vision. He sees that it's Bruce Wayne.
Oh, okay.
And he calls him out right away. And Batman doesn't know who he is yet at this point.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, like what the fuck, dude? Like talk about like not being gentlemanly at all." So then later, you know, like whatever, like 10 minutes later, Bruce shows up at Clark Kent's place. And is like, "Hey, you know, I know who you are too, buddy, and I'm going to take Lois Lane out on a date in front of you." You know, that's how it happens in the animated movie.
Okay.
So I much prefer that kind of interaction over what we got because it just feels like at some point did they always know who they were?
So you mentioned that, and that's something I was going to say that I forgot to mention. Brad Hawk Talk checking in. Hi, Brad. Thank you for joining as well. Back in the gala, I totally forgot to mention this. There is a scene in the gala where Bruce is talking with Alfred. You know, they've got their headset thing going on, and they're
Oh
talking about
yes.
something, and Clark hears it. So I'm getting the impression that Clark figured out who Batman was then, but as for this movie anyway, or for this run. Because I wonder that too, like in other segments. For this, I think that's where it started coming together. But in other things, I wonder, like, when do they finally figure out who's who? Like, where does that come from in this? But yeah, that's where I think it started in this movie, was back at the gala scene.
Okay, because yeah, like Wonder Woman knows who everybody is. It seems
Yeah.
like off the bat, and it's like, how
Yeah.
does everybody like? Are they just like wearing their secret names on a badge somewhere
I know.
that we don't see?
Yeah, it's a good
So
question.
yeah,
And Rob mentioned that on his Spider Noir episode. He made the comment, and millions of people have talked about this, about how all Clark Kent needs is glasses to hide that he's Superman. Apparently, so yeah, maybe he took his glasses off at some point and they recognized him.
maybe yes. I think there is some lore behind those glasses. I want to say there is some lore.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but I feel like they are some kind of special glasses. We as the audience don't see it, but I think the characters are supposed to see it.
Okay. Nice.
The last talking point we had there is Lex Luthor mixes his DNA to create Doomsday. Fucking lame, dude.
I completely
So lame. So like what? Like when Superman and Lois Lane have a baby, they're just gonna create a Doomsday? Because that's what it is. It's just mixing DNA together. Right. I mean, that's not at all how it happens in the comic books. This is just so bad.
I agree. Yeah, I didn't like that either. When I was seeing that, I had forgot about that. Actually, I remember Doomsday being in the film, but I had forgot that that's where it came from. And so watching this the other day, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is just so stupid. But yeah, not a fan of that either. So from there, here's where the movie starts to pick up, and I'll we talked about this before we went live. The turn began to happen, but the turn was for the better this time. Lex ends up kidnapping Martha and Lois. Batman puts on this armored suit, and I get it. He's fighting Superman, so he's got to have it. But the armored suit I don't dislike as much as I like some of the other stuff. It's certainly better than that desert bullshit earlier. But again, it just, I don't know, something about it bothers me just a little. But he's also got this kryptonite spear. He ends up lighting his signal so that Superman will come. Superman is able to save Lois and confront Lex, but he realizes that Lex does still have his mother. Lex admits that he's been the one fueling Batman's paranoia. Diana now gets a chance to see these files, so she sees herself on there. She also sees Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg. Superman goes to Batman, tries to reason with him to get help, but they end up having their big battle. So here's the big battle we've been waiting for. Batman's using the kryptonite gas. He's using the spear. Finally, it appears Batman gets the upper hand, and then Superman says, "Save Martha," and that seems to throw everything off, and because their mothers had the same name. Lois arrives. She tries to explain things to Batman, and so he suddenly realizes that he's been tricked, and they agree to work together. Give me your thoughts here on the big confrontation.
It's good. I think it's not nearly as long as what it should be. I know you don't like the Bat armored suit. I do.
Okay.
I do a lot. It's literally ripped right from the comic books.
That part I knew. That I knew came from the comics, and I don't hate it. I don't hate it as much as I hate some of the other stuff. It just, and I understand the purpose of it. I know why he's got to have it if he's battling Superman. It just, I don't know. For some reason, I'm not a big fan, but I don't hate it. I like it. It's better than some of the other stuff. But continue.
I think there's a lot of smart. Actually, I just realized something. Actually, about I was looking at the IMDb, like the goofs they were called. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I read was that so there's a sequence where Batman throws a smoke grenade and then disappears like he always would.
Yeah. And
it's like, well, Superman has like X-ray vision. Why isn't he just following him?
That's a good point. Yeah.
It turns out, though, there's a formula on one of Batman's screens during the movie earlier where it's a smoke bomb mixed with like lead.
Okay. So that
So
was
Superman can't see through the lead, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. So
that makes
it's
sense
not a
then. Yeah.
complete fuck up. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, that's
Okay.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. It holds some good comedy as well,
Right.
like subtlety comedy moments.
Yeah.
I really like how Superman just was like, you can see that he's like getting pushed to his breaking points with Bruce and all of his like turrets.
Yeah.
You know, he's just totally fed up with them.
Yeah.
But Bruce always has a plan.
Right.
The smoke grenades, I think, is great. I think that's also ripped right from the comics as well. One of
Sorry, Rob's comment just got me. Is this when they realize that their mothers have the same name, so they have to be best friends? Yes,
Yep.
this is exactly it, Rob. And I was going to mention that. I don't like that that's what it took to throw Batman off, but I did think that was kind of silly. But things were turning a little forbidden.
there is a long-winded answer for why that's the thing, but I'm going to continue with their little fight scene and bring up another thing I really enjoyed, which was the moment when Bruce is like punching him in the face, and it's like it's hitting him good, it's not hitting him good, and then all of a sudden his punches aren't affecting him at all, and he just kind of like puts him down and like steps back.
Right.
It's a good comedic moment because he knows that he's fucked for the meantime. And then, yes, of course, the Martha moment comes into play here. And the best reasoning I can give for why it works is because it humanizes Superman to show that, he wasn't just raised on another planet and brought here to kind of be the protector or be the godlike figure that everybody sees him as. It shows that one of his lines, Batman's lines, is "Men are brave." So it humanizes him.
Yeah.
Having a mother like figure, I guess. Right. So the other thing about Martha in this movie, which was Superman's mother, when she was kidnapped and he throws like the Polaroids at him.
Yes.
She is way more beat up in those Polaroids than she is when you see her like 5 seconds later.
I agree. It also looked like she had writing or something on her.
Which?
Yeah, exactly. And then that's not on there when they find her. So I'm like, what the hell just happened here? So yeah, something got messed up there as well. And so again, I still had some issues here. And I agree with you. I thought the same thing. I mean, the fact that it does make Superman seem like a little more human and less of an alien here is what causes it. It was just a funny way to do it. But I did enjoy their confrontation. I liked the fact that it was very back and forth. I thought there was some comedy at times. The film starts to take its turn here during this confrontation for me.
Yeah.
And I started beginning to enjoy it a little bit. I still wasn't sure how much, because we just went through a really long time of a lot of bullshit to get to this point that I think could have just been done so much better. But I was enjoying this, and we start to get that turn a little bit. And then Batman, now that they've decided to work together, Batman goes and he's able to save Martha. Lex unleashes Doomsday. Batman is able to kind of, we have some battles here. He's able to lure the creature back because he wants to get back to that kryptonite spear. And then Wonder Woman arrives. Diana, now in her Wonder Woman costume, she arrives. Superman comes back. Lois goes to get the spear, and we've got the battle here: Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman against Doomsday. And this is where it happened for me, because I went from sitting there for almost 2 hours thinking that this movie's way too boring. There's way too much nonsense going on here. Like, this is just not, I thought I liked this movie, and maybe I really don't. This scene where it's Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman against Doomsday, sitting in my room watching this, I suddenly turned into 10-year-old Sean again, watching this scene the other day. Like, I got the feels. Like, I was excited. I was loving this scene. I'm like, this is so fucking cool. This is what I wanted from this movie. I had a blast with this scene where they're battling Doomsday. What were your thoughts?
I don't like it as much as you do.
Damn.
I'm sorry.
Damn.
I don't. What I did really enjoy is Batman going to save Martha at the warehouse.
Yeah.
That is like the best Batman live action set piece I have
It is
ever
very
fucking
cool. That
seen.
warehouse scene is fantastic.
He utilizes all of his gadgets. You know, he literally beats the shit out of everybody he comes across.
Yeah.
That sequence is it's like worth a whole point for me alone.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I
Um,
agree.
it's so good. So, okay, back to Doomsday. Doomsday to me is a character that should not have been shoehorned at the end of this film. And
Okay.
I understand why he is, because you have to have some sort of common enemy to bring these two characters together to fight.
Right.
Doomsday is not one of them. Doomsday should be his own solo battle
That
against
should have come
Superman.
later. Yeah.
Yeah, it should have been in the next film or something like that. Um, I, I don't particularly like the look of him to start. I like him a lot more near the end of their battle than I do. You know, when he's got the more bones coming out of him like he does in
Yeah.
the comics.
Right.
But I would have much rather have seen Batman and Superman go against you know, Lex Luthor in his stupid little battle suit, you know, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Or here's where Joker could have come in. Like, yeah, you could have done something different. And
Yeah.
I 100% agree. Now I know why Doomsday was here, because you were leading towards the death of Superman. So I understand why it was there. I think that would have been better to, instead of pushing it all together in this film, to do something different, like what you said. And I agree. I do remember when I was watching this thinking Doomsday looks better in the comics than he does here. So I'm on board with you there. But I think why I liked this so much is I've sat here for almost an hour and a half now and talked about what I loved about the superheroes as a kid and then growing up. I felt like I finally got that here. I got they're not arguing. We don't have a lot of nonsense going on. We've got three of the best that there is: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, working together, using their powers, fighting this big villain. Like, this is just what I was hoping for from this movie. And so I think it wasn't so much the Doomsday thing that I liked as it was as just watching them come together and work together, I think, is what I liked, because that's what I loved so much as a kid.
Yeah, which I totally understand. Yeah, I think the battle sequences itself is good. Like, there's lots of crazy good imagery. Like, I'm gonna keep bringing up the visuals because I think Snyder knows how to do them. Like, he pulled one of the comic book covers from Batman really quick in a sequence, which really worked.
Yeah.
There's like the decent like comedic moments. I thought She Was With You, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
Little back and forth, but I do think that they're rather friendly really fast, and I think there needed to be a moment of we're taking them on like kind of one at a time to we're going to take them all on together, which I think happens in the movie. They kind of like Wonder Woman just kind of seems to be out doing her own thing for most of the battle.
Right.
And Superman is also like, I don't understand how you fight with Superman, because Superman's just Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to, you know, and Bruce is just a man. It makes sense that he's just kind of hiding the whole time.
Right.
But yeah, I understand, you know, after sitting through this entire movie, getting that moment definitely feels like a big relief of like something big is finally happening on the screen.
Yeah.
Because I felt the same way, and I had to wait 2.5 hours to fucking see it. And it only lasted like 10 minutes, and then I still had another half hour of fucking closure where I'm like, is this movie gonna fucking end?
Right.
So yeah, I definitely feel you. I hear you on, like, you know, it's something big that's happening and you're finally getting to see them work together as one.
Right.
But for me, it just doesn't save the film, especially with it being Doomsday. I just felt like Doomsday needs his own movie. You know, I feel like they could have pushed the death of Superman one more film,
right,
with his own solo film, and then brought him back for Zack Snyder's Justice League later on.
Yeah, I agree. That would have been better. I'm with you 100%. And so, yeah, that's where we go next. Is so after some issues, Superman finally is able to get the spear. He's able to impale Doomsday with it, but in the process, he is also fatally wounded. And so we get Superman to death.
It's pretty gruesome.
It is. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I watched it this afternoon. I was like, huh, that went hard.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. And then from there, we get Lex is arrested now. We have kind of a Superman funeral thing going on. We get this conversation between Bruce and Diana, and Bruce is wanting her to kind of help him put together this team. We have a scene where Batman confronts Lex in prison that was okay. That's fine. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I almost don't feel like I needed it at this point. And there's, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in your cut of the film, did you see Lex Luthor being arrested at the ship? Yes. Where there was the alien guy in the mother boxes?
Oh, I don't know that I saw that. I remember seeing him be arrested, but I don't know that I saw the alien guy in the boxes.
Yeah, so the villain of the next, Justice League movie,
right?
At least in the cut I watched, he's standing over Lex and talking to him. You don't hear anything he says, but he's got the mother boxes, and they all just kind of disappear into the wind. And then Lex is like all shook, and then he gets arrested.
Okay, yeah, I don't think that was in the version I watched. Rob says if they saved Doomsday for Zack Snyder's Justice League, Josh Whedon would have just cut it out. That's possible. That's very possible. Then the film ends with, we see this dirt that Lois has dropped on Superman's coffin slowly begin to rise, and that's the end of it. Or at least that's the end of the version I watched. Now, it sounds like there was probably quite a bit more going on with what you saw. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit and give your thoughts on the end of this film.
Like, did you see the army, Death of Superman as well? Like, their grave?
There were, there were some brief clips here of it. Nothing was very long. Okay. Everything in this last little bit, because when you said you still had 30 minutes to go,
it felt like it.
The version that I watched, this wraps up in 5 to 10 minutes. It's pretty quick.
You
get a lot of quick clips of things here and there. So you get a clip of the army, and you get the black coffin with the Superman logo on it. You get a couple of shots of a funeral going on. It looks like probably back at the Kent's house. You get Batman or Bruce and Diana talking. Lois drops the dirt, and that's it. I mean, so pretty quick and all wrapped up into one. They stretched out everything for so long. This was pretty short.
Oh, that's nice. because in the version I watched, they have side by side comparisons of the Army's parade versus
that was not a one.
The small in depth Clark Kent funeral. So that happens for quite a bit. And then we get a speech from the priest that was in the first film, who kind of gave Superman where he was supposed to go. That happens in the film. What else? Clark Kent mailed a ring to Martha's house. He was going to surprise Lois with the ring, and then she gets it. I don't know if that was in your cut of the film or not.
I know. I do think we see the ring. I think.
Okay.
Does Martha bring it to her?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see Martha bringing it to her, bringing the ring to her, but I don't know that you actually see her getting it in the mail. It's like she just had it. So yeah, it's a little shorter version as well. It sounds like.
Yep. There's that. Like you said, there's the conversation with Bruce and Diana was there. Yeah, and then there's the Batman thing with Lex Luthor as well. I feel like was probably a little bit longer than yours because it's a full blown conversation, and it ends with Lex doing TikTok, like he's an absolutely insanely crazy person.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the dirt starts to float up above the thing, which I didn't. I don't mind it. I get it. I almost would have liked to have seen a, mirrored kind of thing happen with, the Dark Knight Returns storybook, I'm going to compare a lot because it's literally the direct, it's almost a direct adaptation of that.
Yeah.
In that comic book line, Bruce dies at the end of the movie.
Right.
Or at the end of the book, sorry. And when he's in the grave, Superman's standing above him, and he's just about to walk away. And then he starts to hear a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And then he smiles and continues to walk off. So he's like, oh, Bruce just faked his own death. So
Yeah.
I almost would have liked it if we, instead of seeing the dirt float above, we almost would have just one heartbeat
Yeah.
and then cut to black. I'm like, that would have just been like mirrored it perfectly. I think that would have been a lot better for fans.
Yeah.
Because like you don't even like what it's like 6 years until the next movie,
Yeah.
and he's still in the fucking grave. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and then he like wakes up and has no memory. So
Right.
it's like, what was the point of it floating up if he wasn't just going to come back to life within 3 days? So, like, with the Jesus kind of
You got 2 minutes Jesus
symbolism that you want to do with this character. So
right.
yeah,
I get that. Okay. Before we try to rate this, we've talked about a lot of different things here, but is there anything else that we missed that you wanted to bring up before we give this one a ranking?
I mean, it's fucking long, dude. This movie's so long.
It is.
I know we were talking about before we hopped on. There's gonna have to be some more collaboration ideas going on which versions of which movies we watch going forward.
Yeah, so that doesn't happen to me again because I watched a 2-hour film. You watched a 3-hour film. Big difference.
Yeah. Which is fine. I think this is still like almost the preferred cut I'd like to watch.
Yeah.
I haven't gone back and actually watched the theatrical version probably since it released, but this is probably still the better cut of the two to watch if you have 3 hours to kill. I gotta say that I think they nailed Batman. I really do. This is like one of the better adaptations of Batman I've ever seen. I really wish that they would have went forward with their the Batman movie that was supposed to happen. And it's rather unfortunate that they didn't, because I actually think Batfleck did a really good job in this film.
He did. I agree. Yeah, much better than expected. When I heard that he was the one going to be playing Batman, I was like, this is not going to work. He does much better than I expected.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of the movie falls flat for me otherwise. But, yeah. You got any more final thoughts?
I don't think so. It's tough, and I'm still in my head. I'm between a couple of numbers right now on the rating, and so I'm trying to settle into one because I remember being so excited about this film when it first came out. The first time I watched it, I guess I don't really remember what my thoughts were on the whole movie. I do remember thinking there was some stuff that I didn't care about, but I loved the ending so much that I thought I loved this movie. Going back and rewatching it the other day, the things that I don't like were jumping out at me a lot more, and I just feel like this movie's way too long. It's way too convoluted. There's too much happening. There's at least an hour of story that you could cut out of this one and done some things better with what you kept, that would have made this so much better. All of that being said, I still really enjoy the ending of this film, and I'm just trying to decide how much the ending helps. It helps it a lot, but I don't know. I think I gave Man of Steel a 7 out of 10, and I'm really trying to decide where I want to put this, because overall, I don't think this is as good a film as Man of Steel. There's just too much bullshit going on. But this ending, for me, is better than anything I saw in Man of Steel. So I'm really trying to decide where I'm going to put this.
Okay.
Yeah, I really love this ending. So on the 1 to 10 scale, where would you put this one?
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna like my score or not.
That's all right. Go ahead.
So basically, Batfleck saves this movie for me, but it doesn't save it enough to give it a above average score for a film. Okay. I think all the casting choices are all great. It looks good. There's too much slow-mo. The story's crazy. Jesse Eisenberg ruins the movie, in my opinion.
Yep.
It's getting 4 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Damn. Okay. I mean, I get it. I completely understand what you're saying. I'm going to go a little higher than that, but I'm not going to go as high as I do for Superman, because even though I enjoy the ending so much more and I love the ending, on the version that I watched, we're talking about 15 to 20 minutes of a 2 hour and almost 2.5 hour film. That's not enough to save it. I like it better than that. I think it's. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna say a 6. I was struggling trying to decide where I'll put that. Um, Ben Affleck is great in this. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, I think, is absolutely amazing. I'm really curious to go through so many more of these because I think I remember at one time the first Wonder Woman film was my favorite film in the entire DC franchise so far. She's fantastic as Wonder Woman. And I really, really do enjoy the ending. It saves it from being just average and bumps it up to just that 6 instead of a 5 because I was considering a 5 for quite a while, but the ending gets it to a 6 for me. But I do have a lot of the same problems with it that you do as well. The story's terrible. Jesse Eisenberg is terrible as Lex. There's just, like I said, there's a good hour here that you could have trimmed off of this film and it been better, or even done things a little bit differently, and it's still been better. So I don't think this is great, but I think it's good. I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a 90-minute cut of this movie.
Yeah.
You know, instead of having an ultimate cut, let's shorten it right up and just kind of see what happens. Let's have a 90-minute cut of this film.
Yeah. Oh, damn. Rob was a little tougher than, he said Man of Steel is a 5 out of 10. Batman vs. Superman is a 3 out of 10. I'm pretty sure I gave Man of Steel a 7. Do you remember what you gave it?
I definitely gave it 8 or a 9.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you were a little bit higher on that one than I was. But in all honesty, even though I think these scores are both low, I get it. I 100% get it. If I was not a superhero fan, if I was not a huge fan of Superman, Batman, I probably wouldn't like these at all. I would be like, what the fuck is this nonsense? But I do like those characters. I've grown up loving those characters. I've had, like I said, comic books. I've had action figures when I was a kid. I've got a few Funko Pops now of some superhero stuff. I was just showing a friend of mine the other day. I found a thing of some old pictures that I had got when my mom passed away a few years ago. And I found a picture that my mom took of a birthday cake I had when I was 10 years old. And it's basically the Super Friends. It's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman,
nice.
Like those old. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this cake till I found this picture. So I think it's just my love for these characters that helps me like it a little bit more than like what somebody like Rob would. But I see it. I get it. There's flaws with these things.
Mm-hmm. There always is. But I mean, this one's, I'm just looking at the tomato meter right now and sitting at a 28% out of 100.
Yeah.
She is certified rotten.
Rob says, funny thing I remember is Eisenberg being one of the only things I liked about this movie. Well, see, Rob, that's where you're wrong. While ago, I was telling you I could see your opinion. This time I don't see it because that's one of the worst things about this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, go and watch 3 hours of them.
Ryan said, Batman 89 will always remain my favorite superhero movie. It's fantastic. I agree.
Yeah, that's great. Great choice.
Really good. Yeah. All right. So we made it. We made it through Batman vs. Superman. And I think from what we were discussing before we went live, Suicide Squad is next, you said, right?
Yeah, Suicide Squad's next. So we will have to discuss which version of Suicide Squad we were watching before we get ready on our next potential live.
I don't remember a whole lot. Yeah, I planned on I was going to talk to you about that, but I plan on just doing all of these live. I think this will be more fun to just do live like that. So we'll do each one of these as a live whenever. Next, you and I are going to be going through the Evil Dead franchise as quickly as possible. But then we'll come back once we finish that up and do a couple more of these DC ones. But if I remember, I'm not a fan of Spirit Squad. So we probably need to watch the shortest version of that movie possible.
Nope, we're watching the unrated cut.
Damn. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to watch it. Not that it's like, I just don't know if they ever re-release the theatrical cut any other way. So I think if I end up picking it up, it's gonna have to be on. I'm rebuying all of these movies, by the way, just for
Yeah.
these. I'm buying them on Blu-ray, but I do have a plan. I think I'm gonna. Me and Sam were talking about a way to like, because like I'm buying them for cheap, like just at the antique mall, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with all these like DC movies after like I'm done this? And I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? There's like Blockbuster's clearly gone, but there's people are doing like homemade blockbusters where they like put it out like it's the public library. You take a movie, you trade a movie.
Right.
There's one of those down one of my streets,
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm like, you know what? I might just throw them all in there after and just give them out to
Yeah.
the world.
No, that works. Well, I'm buying them as well. I used to have movies of all kinds of genres, and I've gotten rid of everything except for horror uh, until recently. And I bought Man of Steel on 4K. I bought Batman vs Superman on 4K. And I do have one shelf, so I've got horror stuff all over my house, but I do have a couple of shelves that have a couple of Batman Funko Pops, where I'm putting these. And then, for my birthday last month, I was given a lot of horror stuff, but there was one person that knows that I'm a Justice League nut. And so I brought this over here because I was also given this for my birthday.
No, nice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I don't know how well you can see it there or see what's in it, but we've got Green Lantern, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Martian Manhunter's down there in the corner. I don't know if you can really see him over here or not, but
Okay, yeah.
yeah, that was given to me because they know how much of a superhero fan I am, and there was a picture of the comic book on the back that had all of them in there as well. So I was like, yeah, that's
Nice.
cool. That also reminds me of my childhood somewhat. So I also have that over there in that section. So I do have one small little section of my house that's got some DC stuff. So I'm buying these films for that reason, and I don't know that I'll ever go back and rewatch them again, but at least I'll have them.
Oh, you probably will. I always say stuff like that too, and then I always just get a craving to watch like Superman,
Yeah.
or Man of Steel, and then even this one. I've had a craving to watch it for a while, and then we started doing this, so I was like, okay, I'll get that craving just to kind of see how it holds up after all these years, because
Yeah.
I do like doing that with certain movies. I think this one didn't hold up for me nearly as well as what Man of Steel did, but I'm excited to go back and like see how well like Wonder Woman holds up.
Yeah, me too.
Or see if I like Suicide Squad better now, or if I like it less. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to go back and revisit these.
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious what I'll think about the Aquaman movies again. I think if I remember correctly, I didn't mind the first one and then wasn't a fan of the second one. Shazam. I mean, we'll get to that at some point. I think I liked it the first time I saw it. I don't.
Yep,
now
same.
I can't remember anything about the movie. So, and I still haven't. Like I said, I haven't seen Flash, so this will be a first time watch for me when we do it. So, yeah, I think it'll be fun to go back through these and see how this all plays out. But yeah, let's see real quick if I missed anything else in the chat. I showed this a while ago. Rob said, "Oh Christ, I don't envy YouTube for having to watch that mess of a movie talking about Suicide Squad." Yes, Ryan got Our Life in Horror's link up there, so be sure and follow. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I completely agree. Rob said we need a Booster Gold movie. I know very little about Booster Gold. I know the character, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
I'm in the same boat actually. I don't know much about him as well.
Yeah. Brendan, I feel bad because we jumped right in talking about stuff today, and I didn't really give you much of a chance. So go ahead and take a minute to plug your channel and talk about any episodes that you might have coming up and convince Rob that you haven't retired.
Okay. Yes. Well, that's just it, right? I don't have a lot going on right now at the moment for my channel, but you guys can find me at Our Life in Horror on Instagram and YouTube. I primarily do a lot of live shows. I haven't had a chance to get to the movies at all lately. I've been stuck watching Spider-Man Noir actually for the last week. That's been kind of my cool down, end of the night thing. So there hasn't even been a lot of horror going on in my life at the moment, but I am going to try to jump back into it. I am on Corey's channel, I believe, next week. That's Wilkie's Movies and Music. We're going to be doing a live show and chatting it up for a little bit. I can't remember which day. It's Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then you're on as well at the end of the month. We're going to be talking about Drag Me to Hell. And that's honestly all I got for right now. I know I have just blown I haven't even checked my Instagram in a week and a half, probably, just because I've just been so exhausted.
Yeah, I get it,
I
man.
am going to try to get back on things again. It's just I need some time to adjust to all the working that I've been doing.
Yeah, totally understand. We'll answer the next question here really quick. Are you more of a DC or a Marvel fan?
Marvel. Spider-Man is my jam. 100%. I love all the Spider-Man films. That's pretty much. But he's been my diehard bread and butter since I was a child. So
okay. I'm more of a DC fan. I will admit that Marvel, for the most part, up until I don't know, maybe the last Avengers movie was putting out better quality than DC. But I grew up a DC fan, watching DC cartoons and the television shows and reading the comic books. So I know they haven't reached the level of success that Marvel has when it comes to movies, but I'm more of a DC guy. Yeah, we'll see what happens going forward, because I think Marvel's struggling now too. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Marvel's getting ready to do the great reboot, the reset of the universe, which DC does quite often.
Yeah, because they can't get it right the first time. Yeah. I completely agree. Let's see. What do I have coming up? Wednesday, I will have an episode coming out on Scary Movie. Scary Movie 6. I just went and saw that over the weekend. My review of that coming up Wednesday. Also have an episode coming up later this week where Sarah and Kelly from The Final Girls is back on with me. We are going to start diving into the Final Destination franchise, so we'll be talking about that one. Trying to think. I've got episodes coming up on Aaron from A&B Horror Movies is going to be back soon. We'll be talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Nice.
I have an episode on Jaws 2 coming out very soon. Robbie and Kaylee from That Horror Couple are going to be on with me to talk about Halloween Curse of Michael Myers. So, yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming. I do have some more lives coming. Brendan and I are going to keep doing these lives. I don't know if I have any other lives coming up this month, but I know 1st of July, Mike from Mike and Serial and Isaiah from The Bitter Wolf are going to come on, and the three of us are going to discuss the Terrifier franchise and do a live on that whole franchise now that Mike and I have gotten through all of those. Brendan's also going to be back a few times here. He and I are going to start going through Evil Dead. So we're going to try to get through all of those. And yeah, so be sure and subscribe so you don't miss anything. I'm on pretty much every form of social media there is: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X, Letterboxd. Just search Sean's Horror Corner and you can find any of that. Brendan, this has been fun. Took you almost 2 hours tonight, but you watched the movie for 3, so you should be good.
Yeah, it's shorter than how much time I spent researching this.
That's so funny, but it has been fun. So thank you so much for coming on. I do appreciate it, man.
Of course, anytime, Sean. I always love our conversations.
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody, for being in the chat and participating. And do all the things you need to do. I'll keep doing this, and I will see you soon.